Hi and welcome to Be Entrepreneur TV, the first TV channel dedicated to entrepreneurial way of life. My name is Beju Solanki and along with David McDonald of Silver Island TV are the producers of Be Entrepreneur TV. This channel is for people who want to start to live the life they desire. More and more people are moving away from traditional employment and starting their own businesses. This channel aims to bring you the most up-to-date insights on how you can live the life that you want, through either starting your own business, having your dream career, or living a life on purpose. What we aim to bring you are insights on all things entrepreneurial, be that business growth, new apps on the market, funding opportunities, social media, personal development, anything that helps you live the life that you want. So there is so much out there. How do you know who to listen to? Well, we will look around the world for the best of the best and look for the experts making the difference in the world of entrepreneurship today. This show is about you and we want to hear from you. So use the hashtag BEENTV and let us hear your comments about the show and today's guests. So now for today's guest, we have Richard Pond here, who's the founder of Business Connected. It's a magazine and a networking organisation. We'll talk about that more later on. We've also got an interview from Jonathan Fowler. He's the founder of Rockstar Mentoring. And Rockstar Mentoring is an organisation that helps mentor start-up businesses with business owners from around the world. And we have a feature from the Elite Business Show. The Elite Business Show is like a business show based in London. And we're talking to some of the delegates, some of the exhibitors, and some of the speakers there at the exhibition. So without further ado, welcome to Richard.
Thanks for having me here.
Hey, you welcome.
Yeah,
you good?
Yeah, very good. Thanks.
Fantastic, great. Now I know you run your own business at the moment.
I do.
But,
yeah.
It wasn't always like that. How did you start?
No. Well, going back right from when I left school, it wasn't a world of business that I started in. I did a YTS scheme back then, which I suppose is the old equivalent to an apprenticeship scheme of today, as a greenkeeper on a golf course.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so my days were spent wearing a pair of shorts, Walkman on, showing my age there, and cutting greens and fairways of the local golf courses.
Right,
So
and how long did you do that for?
I did that for 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, okay. So it was till I was about 18. I left school at 15 because I was an August birthday, and literally in the May of the year I left school, I went back and did exams, and that was my route into work, but not into business.
I see. And one of the reasons I wanted to call you onto the show because I want this show to be about real people who not necessarily come from a traditional business background, but have started a business. And we're going to talk about your business that you do now later on. But from the greenkeeping,
I always wanted to earn money, not for greed purposes, but I like to buy nice things, but also just to have financial independence. Yeah. So at an early age, I had Saturday jobs that then ran on alongside the greenkeeping work. So I worked for Auto Trader in Southend-on-Sea. In the early days, selling car advertising in the evening. Okay. I worked at a garden centre at the weekend, selling paving slabs and fence panels that then supplemented the cost of obviously the low income that I was doing when I was training to be a greenkeeper. I see. But after 2 or 3 years, I realised that there was, it was a good job. It was probably a career for life. There's always going to be people playing golf. Yeah. But it was never going to earn the sort of money that I wanted to do things. Go on the nice holidays and have cars but it was more about building more of a financial future moving forward. So I kind of left and decided to find something that was using more of the sales skills that I picked up in the.
So did you go for another job then, or was it starting another business?
Yeah, no, I went for another job. I picked up the Evening Standard, and said, right, all my friends are in London in the city, putting suits on, going up there. What can I do? So I looked for sales roles that was more telesales to draw on the experience of the Auto Trader. So that was my kind of ring a few jobs in the paper and see what I could get, which led me into London.
Right. And how long were you in London for?
So I was in London for about 7 years in total. Okay. I worked for Corporate Financial Printers, which was a far cry from the greenkeeping. I hung up my overalls on the Friday, and on the Monday I was on the train into London to start the job in a suit. So it was a big change. But I spent sort of 2 years learning the trade, phoning up businesses, corporate PLCs, booking appointments for the field sales guys to go in there to sell traditional annual reports. Back then it was. So I learnt my trade quite quite quickly in a fast-paced sort of industry in the city. So,
So did you start a business after that?
Yeah, I moved on. So I moved several jobs within the print industry, going from a telesales to a field sales and then to a sales manager. They were my 3 roles. So every time I moved company, I moved up the ladder, which enabled me to work on some really big corporate clients. I was looking after a lot of work for the Daily Mail and doing some quite technical, variable data type print work, and which enabled 1 month to have a very big job, which I decided not to, at sort of 24, 25, to go out and spend it, but to set up my own business and buy some printing.
And was that during your sales job in London?
Yeah, so I was a sales manager of a print company, and then started my own back in Essex, where I'm from.
And how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 5 years, for about 4 or 5 years, solidly at full time. There was a bit of crossover when I was at the early days, like a lot of business owners have. There's that natural progression to move from working to working on your business, not as a hobby business, but as a full time. So that's what I did with a business partner, who's a guy I work with. And
how did that business go?
It was good at the start. Come 2008, when the recession hit, one of the first things to go was print. People, looked to cut down their marketing. Email was, a lot faster. You can send a lot of, people weren't printing brochures. They changed a few laws with PLCs where they didn't have to print annual reports. All that went online, and that really changed the face of the business. Wow. So some good times, some bad times, some learning period.
What did you learn in that tough
Well, I always look at your first business as an entrepreneur, and as a business owner as your university. So the things that you learn running a business, you can't learn from a book. No. It's very. So I did pick up a lot of tips, things I don't do now in the current business. I ended up shutting the business down after 5 years because it was getting to a point where I wasn't taking as much money as I was to start with, and I could earn more being employed without the 18-hour days and 7 days a week. So I took a lot out of it moving forward. But I think a lot of successful business people, which is something I obviously aspire to as I move on through the career, you look at other people and they've all had businesses that have struggled, and it's your learning curve. That's the way I look at it.
Just want to go back on terms of when there's a lot of people watching here probably in a job and want to start their own business, that transition period. Was that a conscious thing, or was that just being sensible, being pragmatic about it while you're running your business and being a full-time job? How did you balance that out?
Yeah, I think there's a natural snapping point. Most people that set up a business have another job. They set up a business, they see how it goes, and then they make a decision whether to jump ship or not. I think there's always a point where it goes where there's more business coming in for your business than someone else. I think it's being fair to your current employer as well, by saying, this is what I'm doing. Sometimes that's not possible, but I think as well it's being fair to yourself, fair to your current company, and what's going to be good moving forward. You have to take a risk. Nobody made anything without taking a risk.
Indeed. So how long after you closed that printing business in 2008?
Yeah.
And then what did you do after that?
So I went back into the city, worked back up into another corporate finance printers, really going back to my roots of when I was sort of 18, 19. But even for some of the people that I worked with back then were in the same company, it was like stepping back in time. It's very difficult running a business.
All of a sudden have a boss.
Yeah, to have a boss. Being in sales, you have an element of freedom, so that was quite nice. But a year or so later, it was, it was back of, I moved back to Essex and for a time and worked for a local printers, really just to see if it was the job or me, or whether I could have a boss again. But no, I think once you've done it, it's time to get back in and run a company.
And was that the time when you founded your latest company? Yeah,
well, I moved back to a company in Essex, and worked in the sales team, ran a proportion of the team, set up a telesales division of that company. At that time, they were quite heavily into sort of the magazine side of things and to networking as well. So it's off the back of there that I decided to set up Business Connected. because there was a gap in the market, and I think that's what you need to look for.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about Business Connected. We talk about how you started the business, how you grew it, and the sort of activities around that now. But how did you, when the first business failed and you went back into the city, was it always about, I'm going to run my own business some way?
No, not actually. It wasn't at first. It was kind of, it was a hard 4 or 5 years running my business. As I say, some good times and some not so good times. It was really nice, coming home at 5, not really worrying.
And having an income.
Having an income, and working in London, it was a good income. But there's always that thing with, actually, I would do that slightly different. And it's not about the money sometimes when you're running a company. It's having that control of actually having the ideas and seeing them through.
And creativity as well.
And the creativity, I mean, if you've run a business and then you go back, you have an idea that is going to work, and then the other person who you're working for doesn't share that same sort of creative view, then it's really difficult to actually, forgetting income, forgetting anything. You can say, well, I'm to get my money, but if you've got an entrepreneurial spirit or you've run a business, you've always got that in your mind that something can work and you have to run with it. Yeah,
absolutely, great. And we're going to talk about Business Connected. It's a magazine, but also you run networking events. So we're going to talk about how you grow your business, some of the challenges you faced and some of the successes you've had. And also, I know you run networking events and maybe some tips.
Yeah, certainly.
Some do's and don'ts around networking, because networking is sort of, people go networking, but there are certain do's and don'ts and the science behind that. And we're going to talk about that later on, Richard. So thank you for now, and we'll talk about it later. Brilliant. So that was Richard Pond talking about his journey in business, how he went from corporate to starting his first business, not working out, so going back to the corporate world and then starting his own business. And we're going to talk about more around Business Connected and his magazine and stuff later on. Thank you very much. So now we've got a feature from the Elite Business Show. The Elite Business Show, I think, started about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's all about helping businesses grow. So they have exhibitors there, they have speakers, and they have a whole host of individuals there. And Levi Roots was there, and we sort of looked at Levi Roots. And so this is the feature from the Elite Business Show, and look out for the walk around with Ollie Barrett. So the Elite Business Show, what's the message they're trying to give to businesses out there?
Well, I mean, I don't know word for word if they would say it like this, but my take on it is that there is a wealth of support available if you're starting and growing a business in this country, and it's exciting for me to see it all in one place, whether you're looking for money, advice, mentoring, support, partners, each other. Very often you might come to an event like this looking for a co-founder, looking for a certain team member, and it can be very difficult when you're starting out, and actually a lot of Googling, a lot of searching around. So to see it collected under one roof is refreshing, and I think hopefully useful.
Yeah, there's lots of exhibitors here, so there's a lot of activity, which is great. Tell me a little about what you do, I know you've emceed here, but you've got your own business and your own ventures. What are you up to?
Well, I started my first business at university. I dropped out of 2 universities. My first business was in events. Then I got more involved a bit in technology, and then I started giving talks in schools, which inspired me to start other types of thing. And the first of those was called Tenor, which is now a big national scheme where we give a lot of school pupils £10 and they have a month to do something interesting. So I started that 8 years ago. Yeah, I mean, my love in life is starting things, so that's what I want to do more of.
And I know you're really passionate about working with the youth. And I know you received an OB. I know you don't like talking about it. What was the OBC? Was it
an MBE.
An MBE, sorry. Oh, sorry, it's an MBE. So that was for services.
It's a bit of disappointment. No, very proud. My family were chuffed, and there are some amazing people doing some amazing things out there. So it's sort of for them really, because I've never been able to do anything without the help of co-founders. So I've never started anything on my own, and long may that continue.
Great. Well, this has been a fantastic event. We've got some great speakers tomorrow as well. Yeah. So good luck with that, and good luck with your ventures.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Ollie. Take care. Thank you. So I'm here with Rob from Instant Impact, the Elite Business Show. He started his own business 4 years ago?
4 years ago.
Right, let's see. So what was the business, and what were you doing before then?
Before that, I graduated from university in 2010, and my business partner and I decided to set up pretty much straight afterwards. So we set up a graduate recruitment agency. We basically went travelling after university, as you do, maybe a bit blasé, as we will. Went travelling and decided at the beginning of going travelling that we didn't like any of the job opportunities that were available elsewhere. So decided on coming back we were going to start a business. We had 3 months to decide what the best business was going to be, and we came up with Instant Impact, which is a graduate recruitment agency. I was going to say we signed and shook hands on starting the business on Bondi Beach in Sydney. So maybe a little bit different than most startup stories.
Just out of interest, what did you graduate in, the guys?
So I did economics, and my business partner did politics, both at Cambridge Uni. Yeah.
The fact that Cambridge is quite a grand university. Did the degrees itself have any bearing on starting a business in terms of your entrepreneurial ideas and sort of execution?
Not at all. It was more the internships that we'd done while we were at university. I think I'd worked at a big investment bank, which I didn't really enjoy, and then worked at a much smaller, fast-growing management consultancy that was really interesting. And I felt like more of those opportunities should be available, and it seemed as though startups and SMEs were a hell of a lot more interesting than some of their bigger counterparts, and we wanted to open up opportunities there, really.
And what did your family and friends think that you've got this degree from one of the best universities in the world and you're going to start a business? What's going on there? What did they think?
Yeah, crazy. There are still some of them who think it's crazy as well. I think we had a lot of people who doubted at the beginning. I think that's just natural, whoever you are and whatever stage you are when you say you're going to start a business, especially when I think my mum said, why don't you get your own job instead of trying to find other people jobs? But hopefully they now all think that it's a good decision, although I still think a few of them can't quite believe that we did straight away to start a business.
And what's been the best thing from your point of view about starting your own business?
The autonomy of being able to do what you want, the opportunity to meet so many interesting people and other managing directors of firms who are running really interesting businesses. I think you learn so much more by doing your own thing and starting your own company. Yeah, you make a hell of a lot of mistakes, but you learn from them and hopefully develop from them as a result. I think it's just more interesting being able to wake up and do your own thing. It keeps you more engaged and involved in what you do. And the opportunity to be entrepreneurial every day is something I really cherish.
You mentioned mistakes there. What would be the one mistake that you made that, looking back, you would have approached slightly differently?
Two years in, we decided to set up another company alongside Instant Impact called BizHub. It was an online platform to find and compare SMEs. And we realised you can't really run two businesses at one time, and to focus on Instant Impact. Since then, we've been entrepreneurial around our business, and instead of just doing recruitment of graduates, we do attraction services, so marketing and design on campus, as well as retention, which is training and development of graduates. So we've learned to harness our entrepreneurialism into one core business and grow and develop from there.
So what's your big picture? What's the big vision? If we saw you in 10 years' time, what would we see?
We want to be the place people go to hire and retain the very best graduates. We want to become more of a network of grads and a network of small businesses, offering them the opportunity to access the very best people possible. We want to be the market leader in this space. We're already one of the very, very big players in the area, but we want to be much bigger and stronger than we are already. I think we also want to just develop and get more grads into more jobs, really.
A lot of people, when they look at businesses, they think it's a great idea, but how do they make money? Well, just very briefly and a very simple, what is your business model?
Yeah, business model, so it's completely free for the students and graduates who sign up to us. We don't charge companies anything up front, but if they hire one of our grads through us, there's a fee. So for a permanent role, it's a percentage of starting salary, and for an internship, it's a monthly fee. But hopefully the people that they're able to find through us make it more than worth it.
So you're here at the Lit Business Show. What are you hoping to get from this show?
It's just a great opportunity to meet other SMEs. I think it's interesting. It's always interesting to see what's out there, see the other companies that are working, and see what's available. We're obviously hoping to win some new clients, take on some new leads. I think also interested to see some of the conferences, want to get involved with those further down the line and in the future. Just an opportunity to showcase ourselves. You might be able to see in our stand, we try and do things a bit differently, give popcorn out, try and be a bit more interactive than some of the other companies, and try and keep the entrepreneurial spirit going.
What's the idea of popcorn? Why popcorn?
Why popcorn? They wouldn't allow us to do coffee. They said it was in competition with the internal cafe up the road, and also said it was a health and safety hazard. So we went through a variety of ideas, and popcorn was the only one that they seemed happy with.
Right, great. So if there's a graduate watching want to find a job, or there's an employer thinking, oh, I might be able to find some, what's the website?
So it's www.instant-impact.com. You'll find all of the information you could possibly want on there. So grads or students, you can sign up very easily online, and companies have a read. I hope you'll like what you see, and you can just get in touch via the contact section.
Great. Rob, it's been fantastic talking to you. A great story, and hopefully, good luck to you in the future.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
So that was the Elite Business Show. As you say, we've lots of people there and some great interviews there. And I hope you enjoyed the walk around with Ollie Barrett, some insights there about business today and startups. So now we've got an interview from Jonathan Fowler. He's the founder of Rockstar Mentoring. Rockstar Mentoring is an organisation that helps startups not only find finance, but they're mentoring as well from elite business people from around the world. So they have hubs in London where you can actually sort of hot desks for your business, but also part of that hot desking you can actually get some mentoring. So here's Jonathan talking about his journey through entrepreneurship, what he loves about being an entrepreneur, his hero, and his favourite book.
I think the best thing about being an entrepreneur is the freedom, being your own boss. I have been what I call unemployable for a long time now, and it's because when you are an entrepreneur and you've been in it for, we're in our 7th year now at Rockstar. During the recession, we had a really tough time in one of those years, and one of the biggest things that compelled me to go forward was my CV doesn't exist anymore. It'd be very difficult to get a job, and I love that. So that's one of the main things, the freedom. The best book I've ever read on entrepreneurship is called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. Biggest thing I love, Felix Dennis Publishing, who tragically died only a few months ago. The biggest thing about that guy is what he taught me about ownership. And a really, really good book, and very well written as well. My favorite quote, you only live once, go out and do what you want to do. Biggest mistake I've made. When I first started Rockstar, having the strategy of trying to do big brand advertising, I spent far too much money trying to get the brand in front of as many millions of people as possible, hoping that someone was interested. It cost me a fortune, and everything we now do is about targeting specifically who we know are going to be interested. So that was my biggest mistake. My hero, Jon Bon Jovi. Company's called Rockstar. He is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. He's got $1 billion company. You think he's a rock star and he sits in a band, he owns the band. Everyone in the band is an employee. He owns the tour company. He writes all the songs. He's a very smart, hardworking, driven entrepreneur who also happens to be one of the biggest rock stars in the world. So I love him, love him. I think proudest moment, other than the birth of my first child, was there was a time last year when we had our first big award ceremony showcasing our youngest, best startups. It was up in Liverpool, and there were 300 of us at a black tie gala dinner, and I walked in and I had to pinch myself to actually think, oh my God, this is a Rockstar black tie award ceremony with 300 people and the Mayor of Liverpool opening it up. That was my proudest moment in business only last year. In 2020, that's a really good question. All I can say is from a business perspective, I think as long as technology will continue to develop, it'll continue to grow, it'll continue to advance our lives. But as a business person, if you're new and you're starting out in business, I still believe in 2020, people will want to buy from people. And so always still have that human element, because technology will continue to grow, but don't forget that you're selling to other human beings. that I created something that genuinely helped and allowed people to grow their businesses at the same time, building a brand that really resonates around that. That's what I'd love. The biggest point I would give to any startup starting today is before you start spending silly money on everything that you think you need to get started, go out and firstly prove to yourself through real market research that you've got something and you're building something that people actually want. Spend the time doing that first. It costs you nothing and it will give you real evidence that you're doing something that once you've spent the money, you've got people who are ready to buy it.
So that was Jonathan from the Rockstar Mentoring, so his insights about why he loves being an entrepreneur. And that's a great book there, Felix Dennis, How to Be Rich. It's a fantastic read. So if you haven't read that yet, I'd encourage you to do that. And have a look up Rockstar Mentoring. So they're a fantastic organisation. If you're a startup or if you're a new business, check them out. It's some great mentoring opportunities. So Richard's still with us. How are you doing? Well?
Yeah, good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Enjoy that interview?
Very good.
Fantastic, great. So now you left corporate and you started Business Connected.
Yeah.
So just tell us about how did you come up with the idea of Business Connected?
Well, it was born through a number of businesses that I was working in. As I said, the company that I was working with was very much into networking and the magazine publishing side. And I sort of identified there was a gap in Essex for a county-wide business-to-business magazine. As I say, I worked on other publications more for certain towns and cities, but there was nothing that covered the whole county. Okay. So it was my sort of intention to sort of use my printing background that I'd had for a number of years to bring in the advertising side of things of what I've done before, to bring a publication to the county, which was a glossy publication. And you got an example one? Yes, I have. Yeah, and so yes, this is the current Essex magazine that we publish. It's a 48-page, fully glossy magazine, and we also have a Suffolk magazine as well. Okay. So have a number of different magazines that go on. But alongside that, it was evolving. So having an online version, bringing social media into the fore as well. So having networking events. I think traditional magazine advertising on county-wide and local magazines is very difficult on its own. You've got some big publications that are always going to do well, but traditionally, it's a struggle. So it was to have other products that sat alongside that. So we brought out a website that was a county-wide website that quickly got some really good traction. Having the magazines, the networking events, and I think there's a massive difference between having events and having networking meetings. Yeah. And I wanted to bring events to the area. So we outlined a number of prestige, venues: Southend Airport, Colchester United, Essex Cricket Club. And then up in Suffolk at Ipswich Town Football Club as well. So bring some sort of big venues that we could actually put on some really good events. 100 people sit down breakfast, but every month, bringing good numbers. There was a showcase for the products that we did with the magazines and the website. Cool. And so
we're going to talk about the events in a moment. So what were some challenges that you faced compared to this business compared to the other ones? What was easier and what was harder?
Yeah, well, one of the things was looking at pitfalls in previous businesses. Like the interview we've just seen, it's not spending too much money early on advertising. I set Business Connected up as a self-funding business, £50 to register a domain name, and everything that we've achieved so far has been self-funding. We've had no funding into the business. Okay. So it was important that it was sustainable to have a business that could grow rapidly without the funding. Knowing that that's available if you need it further down the line, but not just saying, right, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to put this money in, I'm going to take big salaries, I'm going to spend loads of money on advertising, and actually be quite in a hole before you started. So it's nice to grow at a rate that you're happy with, to get good advice, to get that advice in, yeah.
So on that advice, when you first started, did you get people saying, "Oh, it's not going to work," advertising's dead, and magazines? People don't read it?
Yeah. You always had that. I mean, you
How did you cope with that naysayer?
Well, I think generally when people are they're kind of quite jealous that you're doing something, and it didn't happen straight away. It happens more once you get established. Oh, it will never work in that county, or no, it'll never work here, or But I think that kind of steers you on. I think a lot of people have have seen where we've grown in the last few years and been quite supportive. So it hasn't been that bad.
So when they see the success and they say, "Oh yeah, that was a good idea," we really support you, and they always come back. So what about so it's different. So the magazine's there, but you run these networking events, and you're really keen to ensure that they're positional quite differently. So what did you see in the market that felt that will be a good sort of pivot in your business?
Yeah, well, I think there's some very good networking events about, and there's some quite poor ones. And as I say, a lot of them what I class as networking meetings. I'm a member of a number of groups, local meetings where you sit down with 20, 30 businesses every week, and you work on a referral basis. And I think there's some really good organisations that do that really well. I won't mention the names today, but most people know of the big ones that are out there. And I wanted to do something that was different from that. Have a big, as I say, 100 people sitting down, good level of business. And for me, it's about the level of business in there. It's the big firms of accountancies, the solicitors, the managing partners of them coming, and actually putting really good people in a room with really good speakers, a good breakfast, a great venue. It's actually quite simple to do. And the gap was actually there isn't that many big events with good delegates that simplify it. I mean, networking is effectively of having meetings with a lot of people at once. If you break it down, it's no more than that.
But like you say, people do get it wrong. So what are some of the do's in networking, and what are some of the don'ts?
Well, let's start with the don'ts. I think that's the I mean, what you don't do is you don't try and overcomplicate an event. If you're going to run an event, keep it quite simple. Everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel. What they're not doing is concentrating on getting good people there. They're concentrating on getting numbers. And there's a difference of having people and numbers. And what we look at is to get good people. So one of the do's is to get the right people in the room, because the right people in the room will do business together. Numbers will just try and swap business cards. And that's one of the other don'ts, is don't just go there, here's my business card. I sort of reckon it too, same as if you go up to somebody in a bar, shake their hand and walk off. Hello, I'm Richard, and walk off. There's no different to doing that with a business card. If someone comes out, here's a business card, walks off, they're not going to phone you for your services. You have to engage with them. You have to actually build up a relationship. And that's kind of where a lot of people go wrong, is that they go in a room, they take a bunch of business cards, and then they'll phone the person, I met you at an event, please can we do business? Well, no, you have to, again, like the interview we've just seen, people buy from people. You have to
build rapport a bit.
You have to instill that confidence and that trust that they're going to...
Do you still see those mistakes being made?
All the time, yeah, all the time. But it's about educating. What we don't do at Business Connected is we don't say, they're doing it wrong, we won't invite them next time. Is we try and educate them. We work with a number of good partners and people that we can actually get them sat down and say, look, this is how to do it. Because if they do well, they'll come back. And like any business, you want recurring business. And that's going from whether one of our advertisers or partners down to just somebody who's going to buy a networking ticket. We want them to return, so they do well.
What's some of the other don'ts in networking?
I think arriving late. I mean, one of the things that we say is that is bad preparation, and preparation can talk about before, during, and after networking. So that's the three areas that we look at. So always ask for a delegate list in advance if they've got one. Like we do, we send one out the day before, so you can actually see who's going to be there. You can connect with people on LinkedIn. Before you're going to arrive, you can set a couple of meetings up actually before you're going to get there. So you've got 2 or 3 people that you're going to meet on the day. Get there early. The people that arrive at 20 minutes after it started and then walk in the room and go, oh, there's a lot of people here. Now, well, actually, if you're the first people and there's nobody in the room, you're greeting everybody as they come. So be prepared beforehand. Work the room when you're there. Get there early. Make sure that you...
What does work the room mean? That doesn't mean give out business cards, does it?
No, it doesn't. But get there early and actually introduce yourself and pick. You're better off picking 4 or 5 people to speak to than try and go around, and talk to everybody. Identify by name tags on, who is the right people for you, and you can work the room before you get there. Work the right room. Get to the right event. Make sure you do your research. Speak to people that go, but also don't get hung up on if that person. If you're looking for, a creative director, because they're your clients. You know, your clients are all creative directors. Yeah. And you look at someone's name tag and they're a solicitor. Yes, you might, you know, steer, but don't stop it from talking, because you don't know who that solicitor knows. There's, you know, there's a good saying in networking. You know, it's the room's room, not just the room. So again, it's expanding your network, and you know,
so who's in their black book?
Exactly, yeah. You know, I think they say most people know 200. Most business people know 200 business people. Yeah. You know, so if you're going to speak to 10 people, your network can expand by, you know, by a lot. And I'm sure people like yourself, as you know more than 200 people. So it's picking the right the right people. But again, that's not just on before and on the day. It's afterwards as well. Yeah, it's using the delegate list, using the cards that you've met. You know, we work with a lot of clients. We say, how'd you go? No, yeah, it was okay. We met 3 or 4 good people. Well, did you follow up? Oh, I haven't done that yet. It was 2 weeks ago, the event. You know, they're not going to remember you. You know, use a list, use the cards, add them to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your biggest networking friend out there. You know, do like you would with your meeting one. Use the software.
Like a lot of people, you know, the follow up is not very done. I use social media like yourself, and they don't use those tools to enhance the offline experience. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we do part of Business Connected. We run company social media and do social media training. And one of the things that we say on the social media training, and we do a lot of LinkedIn workshops, because it is the best way to connect with individuals, is to use things like the relationship tag. You know, most people don't even know there's a relationship tag on LinkedIn. You know, where did we meet? Set a reminder. You know, put some notes in. Select tags. All these things can be done by once you've connected with somebody on LinkedIn. You know, so if you phone someone back in 2 months' time, say, oh yeah, we met at, you know, such and such event, you know, and we had a talk about that. They're going to remember that more than, oh, I think we met somewhere.
Exactly.
So again, it's use the tools, connect with people, send them a message, not necessarily a standard message, but, you know, tailor it as if you would an email. And then, as I say, it's preparation, work the room when you're there, and then follow up. Fantastic. There's some do's and don'ts mixed in there.
Yeah. And I think with networking also, there are so many events, is to go to different, just because you go to one event doesn't mean you shouldn't go to a different time.
No,
that's why your event's sort of very different, because it's not like the sitting around and you 60-second type thing. It's very much about looking at the room, there's different type of people there, and making yourself known, if you like, you know, making your face known. Yeah,
I think, I mean, I go to a variety of events. I can go to 2 or 3 a week or 10 a week sometimes, you know, but again, you shouldn't put in any less preparation because you go to more. If you haven't got time to work an event properly, you shouldn't go. I mean, sometimes you go, you know, so you get a bit of brand awareness. If you've got a particular product that you're trying to push, you'll up your game more. You might take some literature, put banner stands up, you know, so you can use it for a branding exercise. But at the same time, if you do that too much, people will know you for that. So you have to get that, you know,
the balance right.
You get the balance right, and actually help people out. If you go to an event and someone's asking that they want an accountant that specialises in Xero software, and you know somebody, put them in contact, because they'll remember you, and the person will remember you more as the person you've also referred them to as well. So absolutely, it's you've got to help people out.
So in your business, as well as running the events in the magazine, you probably meet a lot of startups. In current day and age, with the advent of social media and internet, all the rest of it, what advice would you give startups today? You know, so they see an opportunity like you did. What typical mistakes do you see, and what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, it's planning. It's strategy planning. You know, again, it's preparation for your business. You know, not just for networking. You need to write a business plan. You know, fail to plan, plan to fail is so true. And the companies that are successful have a plan in action. It doesn't mean you have to stick to it religiously, but you need to write a plan. You need to review it every month or two to check that you're on the right way. Get good advice, work with a business coach. You know, business coaches are great. They're not great for just telling you what to do day to day or coaching you what to do, but they've got an enormous amount of contacts as well. So work with a coach, get a good accountant as well, get good advice. You know, it's all about that planning and advice.
So it's knowing what you're good at and getting the people that the things that you don't do. You know, you don't start a business to do cash flow stuff. Get an accountant to help you with that. Get other experts.
People seem scared to outsource, and I don't know why. You know, if you're no good at Twitter, don't run your own Twitter account. There's people who can do it far cheaper. You probably know a 17-year-old in the family, which is what I did. I employed my nephew as my first employee as an apprentice because he had 10,000 Twitter followers talking about football.
Right.
He's going to know far more than me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't get him to do LinkedIn because I've been doing that for 10 years, which was my strength. So, and from that, we grew the different people within the business depending on the strengths of what we needed.
Great.
Yeah.
So what's the big vision for you? You know, if I meet you in 4 or 5 years' time, where would Business Connected be?
Yeah, well, we've been officially trading for 2 years now, and we employ 6 people, so we've grown quite nicely. We've got 6 months of settling now.
Okay.
We're bringing out. We developed a product called Premier Partners, which we're working on. We've got a number of key companies that are now regular clients of ours. We're growing that. We've got a couple of other counties that we're about to launch, so that's exciting. There's a lot of work going on.
So is the vision to maybe have Business Connected in all the counties?
That's the plan. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Whether that's done through the franchise model or whether that's done ourselves is something we're working on.
Great.
But yeah, we're
it's not about sitting still, is it?
You can't sit still.
Can't sit still. Fantastic, great. Well, we'll get you back on in 3 or 4 years' time and see with Business Connected. So what's the website? So if you want to...
So it's www.businessconnected.co.uk.
Perfect, great. And I'm sure if you type in Business Connected in Google, generically you should come up with the experience. Great. Well, thank you, Richard, for your time.
Thanks,
so that's Richard talking about Business Connected. Fantastic interview there. So, you know, thing is, it doesn't matter, you know, Richard had a business before, didn't work out as well, went back to the corporate world and starting a business. So it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're a newbie, whether you're looking to start a business, there's always an opportunity there. He's always looking for the angle. So Richard ran this magazine, but he understood that networking is key, and he sort of positioned his magazine, his networking event in such a way that he was able to generate a new market, if you like. So that was Richard. We heard from Jonathan Fowler earlier on from Rockstar Mentoring, and you saw the feature on the Elite Business Show. So, and if you've got an event coming up, whether you've got a conference or a workshop or a seminar or anything, be in touch. We would love to come and feature your event. You know, we want to bring entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking to the masses. You know, this channel is all about giving people not the privileged few to who get exposed to entrepreneurship, but to be a default in thinking. So we're looking to bring entrepreneurship to the masses, and we're looking to change the way education is taught in schools. That entrepreneurship is a sort of default in terms of thinking. So if you've got an event, be in touch through Twitter or use the hashtag BENTV. So until the next time, be safe and go for your dreams, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.